Well, Hell in a Cell is this Sunday, and right now we're about to review Monday Night Raw, the final Monday Night Raw before the pay-per-view this Sunday, and I thought it was an overall improvement from last week, notwithstanding a rant or two will be included shortly. So let's break it all down right after this.
My name is Mike De Niro, and I am one-third of the New York City rap group, the Lords of Gotham. I am also the host of the Wrestling DeLorean podcast. The Wrestling DeLorean podcast is your one-stop shop for all the news and notes around the wrestling world. We talk about everything from WWE to AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, MLW, Ring of Honor, and beyond. But wait, there's more. We also go back in time and discuss all the events and moments that made us all fans. New episodes of the Wrestling DeLorean podcast drop Monday through Friday. Yes, 5 episodes a week, and you can find us wherever you enjoy your favorite podcasts. So what are you waiting for? Hop in the Wrestling DeLorean, strap in your seatbelt, become a passenger of the Wrestling DeLorean podcast, and enjoy the ride, because it is going to be one hell of a good time.
Hey y'all, please take the time to check out the fastest growing podcast out of Nashville, Tennessee, the Tipsy Music Happy Hour. Listen to D-Bone, Drew East, and Murph Dog drink and shoot the with some of the biggest names in the music city at Tipsy Pod on Instagram and Facebook. You can also stream via Spotify, Apple, iHeart Podcasts, or on tipsypod.buzzsprout.com. That's tipsypod, Tipsee pod.buzzsprout.com. New episodes every Tipsy Tuesday at noon. Let's get tipsy, y'all.
Welcome to the WWE Podcast, your number one source for the latest in WWE news and straightforward analysis.
Are you ready to get this thing going?
Give me a hell yeah! I said give me a hell yeah!
Then let's get this show started right now.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Monday Night Raw review here on the WWE Podcast. We have a lot to get to tonight as we are just 6 days away from the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view this Sunday night. I expect a very good show, actually. I got to say, we may be kind of crapping on the product here and other shows, and I think the general audience is kind of down, especially on Raw. But I expect a very good pay-per-view. And this is the final pay-per-view in front of nobody. I cannot tell you how excited I am as we get closer and closer. Now just 1 month out of bringing fans back, how important this is for us, the viewer. For fans, obviously in attendance throughout their 25-city summer tour, and hopefully it doesn't end in the summer and they just continue. I would think so. It is a monumental reunion. Not just the WrestleMania one-off. It is, in fact, a true reunion of sorts that I think is going to be fun to watch on a week-to-week basis. And WWE gets to hear vocally, with no medium, no overlord directing what they should and should not boo and cheer for. They get to hear the WWE fans unfiltered. That is what I'm the most excited for. And they have the WWE has run out of time to play God in their storylines, and I am very excited to be able to hear fans back. And I think everyone listening to this would be in agreement. It would be 16 months at that point. It was, I believe, mid-March of 2020, 3/16, and they're going to return July 16. So. Yeah, 16 long, arduous, painful at times, but appreciative time that it has been. 16 months long of this pandemic, and let's all hope that no variants come out that we all have to worry about again. I mean, the news is all about fear and injecting fear into us, but hopefully that doesn't come to pass. So, guys, a big week, of course, with Hell in a Cell. I was up and down on Raw, generally higher than last week, as the title of this show speaks to. A much better show, I think that right off the top, when we look at the beginning of Raw, WWE acknowledged the fans' just displeasure with how terrible the ending to Raw was last week, with a doll chasing Shayna Baszler around and doing magic tricks. It, to me, is just a shot right to the solar plexus of all of those in WWE that love their cinematic presentations. I am so happy that this got canned and destroyed by fans. It's like one last shot to these people who think this is professional wrestling before fans actually come back. It was a nice send-off, if you will. It really was. So I'm glad they at least heard it loud and clear. And it does show that they do hear us. When things are terrible, we let them know and they acknowledge it. And they try to make adjustments. Same thing when things are great, right? I mean, they acknowledge that as well. How do I know they acknowledge that? Look at Rated RK Bro. I think that's generally being perceived as very positive. And they continue to flesh out a storyline that I really don't believe they had any intention of going this long for. I think that this was not supposed to go this long. They would have already had Randy turn on Riddle. They would have had their program, and we would have been on our way. But they have such just undeniable chemistry together that here we are, a month, 2 months later, however long it's been now, and these two are starting to gel as a tag team. And the fans are loving it. Is the inevitable turn coming from one of them? Yeah, it is. But let's, as Vince McMahon would say, let's go for the ride. And I'm on board for it. I am. So, guys, we're going to get to all of Monday Night Raw. All of it's good. All of it's bad in just a moment. But I want to give you or extend this invitation to you as we get closer to Sunday night with the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. You can sign up at Patreon for just $1 for the entire month. You get just for $1 the entire library of our show, ad-free, and more importantly than that, you get to get a special invitation to a Discord server that we will all be, when I say we, all of the patrons and myself will be on during the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view to talk about what is going on, our live reactions, rants, whatever we have. So consider joining us at patreon.com/WWE podcast. So the other thing is Apple Podcasts, if you haven't heard, is also doing a paid subscription model, optional, of course. I've set that up, but I will say Apple has not done a great job of rolling it out. So, in other words, what I've set up is a paid subscription feed where all of my shows are ad-free, but I don't see it anywhere on Apple Podcasts. I've set it all up. It's been published. So stay tuned for that. It should be available in channels. I guess there's something called channels now on Apple Podcasts. So stay tuned. If you want to give it a casual look, you can. And I think that would provide a more streamlined way of getting ad-free content because it's through Apple Podcasts and it's our number one platform that we have here on the show. So consider heading over to Apple Podcasts and search us out. I don't have an exact roadmap for you to get there yet because Apple has done a really poor job of rolling it out. I got to say, it's been really bad, and that's saying something for Apple. It's usually pretty good with this stuff. But I want to give you a heads up. Stay tuned for that. Things are done on my end. It just comes down to Apple, who's really dragging their feet on this. So anyway, let's get into Monday Night Raw, guys, and Hell in a Cell. And, you know, the show opened with Alexa Bliss saying she put Lily in timeout for her actions last week against Shayna Baszler. And it was clearly a acknowledgement of the fans' just absolute destruction of last week's main event of the show, which we all know what happened. I mean, it was bad, but it was an acknowledgement. And even Alexa Bliss said at the top that we received a lot of negative reaction to the actions of Lily. You know, she can't say the reactions of what we did last week. You know, you can't do that. So they blamed it on Lily, and she put Lily in timeout. Fine. I think that's fine. I really have no problem with it. In fact, I'm really grateful they did that, and I'm appreciative more than anything else of them not just plowing forward with this just weird hocus pocus stuff with Lily. I'm glad they did that. For 2 months after WrestleMania, we saw Alexa Bliss sitting there in the playground with a doll, with no opponent. She hadn't had a match on Raw in 4.5 months, as the announcer said. And even at that, the match that they were referencing was a farce of a match with, I believe it was Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship prior to WrestleMania that went nowhere. And it was just a means to an end to get to Randy Orton, I believe. Prior to that, she hasn't had a real match in like a year. I mean, a real program. So it was nice to see her getting some attention on bringing a real opponent into the mix here, not just speaking on high levels and in tongues, and you got to read through sift through the mumbo jumbo she's talking about. And also, did anything ever come of her saying that Lily's favorite color is red? No. The answer is no. I can't think of anything that is red on Shayna Baszler. I mean, nothing. So that whole thing of red we were dissecting for a couple of weeks here turned out to be nothing. And this is why you have to be careful with WWE, that they oftentimes will, maybe you think they're sending you a signal, but you have to realize that a lot of times they change their mind minutes before a show. Scripts are torn up. We hear stories about that all the time. So, moving on, though. Nia Jax interrupted to say that Baszler would see Bliss at Hell in a Cell before challenging Bliss to a singles match later that night. So, Nia Jax got in Alexa's face and said that, what happened to you, Alexa? We used to be friends. And I'm thinking to myself, no, you weren't. No, you weren't. Didn't Alexa wasn't she in a program with you where she was talking about your weight behind your back and that was part of the storyline? I don't know. I'm fairly sure. I don't remember them ever really being great on-air friends. Do you? Am I missing something? But anyway, Bliss says that they were never friends, and then obviously we know what happened later in the night with their match, and let's get to that. Alexa Bliss comes out, and we get Nia Jax really just going to town for Alexa Bliss. I mean, like basically laying out for her. And Nia Jax got a few offensive maneuvers in. There was no hocus pocus by Alexa Bliss, which was surprising. I thought she would have done her transformation, but she didn't. And it was just a lot of, the occasional no selling. It wasn't everything no selling, which I'm fine with. That makes sense to me, though. I don't want her being a complete knockoff of The Fiend. In fact, I would distance her from The Fiend as much as possible. But during this match, Reginald interfered, and Bliss hit Jax with Twisted Bliss. Of course, Reginald got himself in the ring, broke up the pin. More interestingly, though, this match, after the match, which the match wasn't great. I mean, what can you expect from a woman that is a third of the size of Nia Jax, competing with her? It's not going to ever really be a quote great match by our standards today. But nonetheless, I guess the more interesting point here was we got Reginald basically mimicking the movements of Bliss almost in a hypnotic state before Bliss left the ring. So while there wasn't overt hocus pocus, we did kind of get a much more, a milder version of that, which I'm fine with. I am, because look, remember the Wyatt family doing that to Daniel Bryan when they had him brainwashed for a while? I do. Before, of course, Daniel Bryan turned on Bray, but it's been done before, and I'm fine with it. It can be done. This is a much more plausible version than bringing a doll in that apparently that has teleportation abilities, can set off fire pyro and cause imminent death by throwing scaffolding and yeah. So this is a much more plausible, watered down version that I can get on board with. Okay, let's see here. What do I want to dare tackle next? Oh, we got also Nikki Cross defeating Charlotte via countout. Now, I think Nikki Cross is doing a nice job reviving her career. I think Creative is doing a nice job of making her likable. Now, she's not getting a whole lot of mic time, but she is likable in the sense that she physically is smaller than most of the women. So she's an underdog right off the bat. She has a likable personality. She's always upbeat. She continues to win matches, but she continues to win matches that have next to zero credibility in them. So while the announcers are trying to position Nikki Cross as someone in the conversation for the Raw Women's Championship, I beg to differ. Not because I don't like Nikki Cross, I do. But if you're going to tell me that somebody that's getting count-out victories, that is getting beat-the-clock challenge victories because their opponents can't or forget to look at the clock, that is those are not credible victories. I mean, you can't say in this instance that a win's a win. That's not how it works in pro wrestling. You can use that logic in any other sport, right? In other words, in MLB, if you have the bases loaded bottom of the ninth and it's a tie game and the pitcher walks the batter, well, it's not the way you want it to win, right? I mean, the pitcher essentially costs his entire team the win because he walked the batter, bases loaded, and you get the winning run in, but you'll take a victory and it'll still show up the same on your record as a victory. Same if you win 1-0 or 20-2, it's the same in terms of weight of a victory. So my point is, if you want Nikki Cross to have some credibility and believability that she could win a championship, the Raw Women's Championship, then you better start giving her credible victories beyond finding week-to-week ways that she can squeak out a win. You're educating fans to believe that she can't credibly win a match by hitting her finish and pinning a woman or submitting her opponent, but rather she has to rely on outside forces and lady luck to get a victory. And by the way, if she ever does make it to the Women's Championship picture, you can't win a championship by count out. So there's that. I mean, I need them to be careful. Like, I understand the logic behind what they're doing with Nikki. She's likable. They're putting her back on the map. The Raw Women's division does need a boost. I'm all for it. But you can't tell me that she's a serious contender for the Raw Women's Championship at the same time. You can't have both here. You need to start giving her credible victories. If you're going to make me believe that I'm supposed to believe in my brain she's part of the Raw Women's Championship picture. So I think it was Byron who might have said that, along with the quota of 18 times he has to say, send a message throughout the show. I mean, there was a period of time, I'm not even joking, I forget what segment it was. It might have been the Charlotte Rhea segment. We'll get to that next, where he said, send a message. I think it was 4 times within 15 seconds. I'm not even kidding you. It's almost like he was trolling this show, or people that I just find it as irritating as I do that they just continue to say those phrases. I can they come up with something else? Okay, but nonetheless, so Nikki Cross does defeat Charlotte Flair via countout. Flair complained to Sonya Deville about needing to get the loss to Cross off of her record, and then Rhea came to ringside just a minute into the match, and Flair eventually was distracted enough by Rhea Ripley that she was counted out, as I said, giving Cross another win. Then Flair attacked Cross after the match, but Rhea came to hit her with the Riptide. Okay, so this came in response to Charlotte attacking Rhea Ripley earlier that night. So we'll get to Rhea and Asuka in a second, because obviously Charlotte is tied into this. But Rhea Ripley is extremely unlikable. Like, not to the point of channel changing. I'm not talking Miz, channel changing heat that I was berating him for weeks and weeks, or when Riddle was by himself just being a goofball. No, in fact, I think Rhea Ripley is a great asset to Monday Night Raw. So let me just say that off the bat. I'm not advocating she leave, nor am I advocating she's cringeworthy. I am just making the point that her character, as it's presently presented to us on camera, is very unlikable. I mean, you don't want to, you're asking, well, what are you talking about? Why? She's great. How is she great? I mean, when you, again, as a babyface, let's look at this in the context of how I guess they're trying to have her portrayed to us. I mean, what redeeming qualities does she have? You know, we'll break this down a little more, but as far as Nikki Cross versus Charlotte went, I mean, we had a minute into the match, Rhea Ripley come out and distract Charlotte just long enough for Cross to try to take advantage. And as Nikki Cross ran around the ring to celebrate, Charlotte took her down with a boot to the face. I actually enjoyed that because she shouldn't be celebrating those victories. Why should Nikki Cross be celebrating that type of victory? You look at her when she was feared in NXT, how much of a aura she had to this girl that doesn't feel like she belongs in the ring. I don't like that. I mean, I don't know. It's just, it's tough. And, you also have Rhea Ripley here who blindsides Charlotte. I mean, she's the babyface, right? And she attacks Charlotte from behind, hitting her with Riptide. I'm confused. I really am. So, and later in the night, as I finish up this storyline, then we'll move on to something else. We also had Asuka versus Rhea Ripley in what I thought was actually probably their best match yet. And actually, I think was in a lot of ways better than their WrestleMania match, I have to say. And it was good. It was a good match. We have a no-sold clothesline from Asuka to Rhea Ripley, but the headbutt was nice. Rhea Ripley's really good in the ring, as we all know. I didn't know she was only 24, by the way. That was on her little quick resume snapshot that they put on screen when, the wrestlers are making their entrance. She's only 24? What she's done to herself physically, I think it's good, but it makes her look older, I should say. Like, I thought she was in her low 30s. I would have added 10 years to her. I just would have. So, wow, she's 24. That's good for her, though, because that means she has a lot more time in the ring to create her legacy. So, cool. But I really didn't know her. I did not know her age. So, Rhea gets the victory after Riptide, and then Charlotte attacked Rhea Ripley out of nowhere after, I guess, Charlotte, why did she have heels on? Did she kick her heels off? Well, if you're running to the ring or running through the quote crowd, what are you wearing heels for? Just to take them off? That makes sense. But she completely changed outfits and she was brawling nobody's business with Rhea Ripley. Of course, Charlotte gets her bloody nose or face or mouth, whatever it is. I mean, Charlotte cannot go more than 2 weeks without getting a bloody face of some sort. I'm not kidding. I said this before. It's almost like backstage, they probably have that calendar that says, 0 day or however many days since our last accident with Charlotte's face. I mean, they probably don't get past 14 days before it says 0 days since Charlotte's last bloody face. It's unbelievable. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about Charlotte constantly getting bloodied in the face. It's unbelievable. So, I mean, it's good for her in a way because it gives her a nice look. And I don't mean that in a degrading way. I mean that in a badass way. And she looked legitimate badass here. The brawl, the pull apart was nice. When they don't do it all the time, it feels important when they do it. And I can't remember the last time they did this with a women's program where they had these two, pulled apart by security in the back and I guess agents that were just standing around with nothing else to do. But it was good. The brawl was very physical. It was, I think, exactly what this program needed.
Stay right there. The WWE podcast will return after this quick break.
My name is Mike De Niro, and I am 1/3 of the New York City rap group, the Lords of Gotham. I am also the host of the Wrestling DeLorean podcast. The Wrestling DeLorean podcast is your one-stop shop for all the news and notes around the wrestling world. We talk about everything from WWE to AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, MLW, Ring of Honor, and beyond. But wait, there's more. We also go back in time and discuss all the events and moments that made us all fans. New episodes of the Wrestling DeLorean podcast drop Monday through Friday. Yes, 5 episodes a week, and you can find us wherever you enjoy your favorite podcasts. So what are you waiting for? Hop in the Wrestling DeLorean, strap in your seatbelt, become a passenger of the Wrestling DeLorean podcast, and enjoy the ride, because it is going to be one hell of a good time.
Hey y'all, please take the time to check out the fastest growing podcast out of Nashville, Tennessee, the Tipsy Music Happy Hour. Listen to D-Bone, Drew East, and Murph Dog drink and shoot the with some of the biggest names in the music city at Tipsy Pod on Instagram and Facebook. You can also stream via Spotify, Apple, iHeart Podcasts, or on tipsypod.buzzsprout.com. That's tipsypod, TIPSEE pod.buzzsprout.com. New episodes every Tipsy Tuesday at noon. Let's get tipsy, y'all.
Welcome back to the WWE podcast. Let's get back to more great wrestling audio.
All right, everybody. Well, let's get back to your Raw review and wrapping up this whole Charlotte deal. She just is clearly the babyface here. I know that they're not positioning her like that, but Rhea Ripley acting like a high school kid on the sidelines, laughing at Charlotte Flair losing via count out, attacking Charlotte from behind. Rhea has given me no reason to support her, none. I mean, I actually want to see somebody like completely demolish Rhea Ripley. If they think that they're positioning her as a babyface, I don't know what they're doing. And if they're going heel versus heel, then I guess fine. And listening to the reaction, the pumped in crowd noise, there were boos for Rhea. So perhaps they just don't care as they get closer to their massive reset button that they're looking forward to after mid-July with fans coming back, that perhaps they're just like, screw it, guys, whatever. Let's just get through the next 4 weeks and we can get back to business as usual. Because I truly believe once the fans come back, they have a ton in store. I'm talking massive returns. They're not all going to happen at once. We know that. But I think that they do have a few huge stars returning. One of them, Becky Lynch. I think Becky Lynch is on her way back towards SummerSlam. I think in Vegas is where she's eyeing. I think that's a great spot. You could also talk about John Cena versus Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley. Or do they wait on both of those for WrestleMania? Either way, both are, I would say, somewhat likely. And then, of course, The Rock is floating out there too, and among others. I mean, there is a stacked all-star handful of guys and gals waiting in the wings for when WWE gives them green light. I mean, I'm really looking forward to fans coming back because it's going to give a shot in the arm, not just for star power, which is great, but also on a week-to-week basis, just the energy and the feel of the show itself. No more digital boards, guys. 4 weeks. But this Charlotte Rhea Ripley thing is it's a mess. It's a mess. Absolutely a mess. Especially for Rhea Ripley, more than anybody. She does not feel like a real champion. It feels like she's just she's playing champion. It doesn't feel right now. And yes, you could say, well, you wanted it for, Asuka, you wanted her to take it off Asuka at WrestleMania. Yeah, I did. You know why? Because they were burying the championship and Asuka for 8 months. And I'd rather have somebody carry it on a weekly basis that isn't named Asuka to get that feeling of just degrading the championship out of my brain. So like when you have the bar on the ground, anything above the ground looks good. So, all right, well, let's move on here. Again, great pull apart though. I love the brawl between these two. Really good stuff. We also didn't hear from Shayna Baszler this week, by the way. Like, I don't know. Where's Shayna? Mental institution? I don't know. I really don't know. I'd love to know where he is, or where she is, rather. Okay, Elias versus Jackson Riker took place, and this was not on Hulu. So, here's the description for those that also didn't watch Hulu, or did and didn't see this match. Elias came out of the gate hot with a running knee and a flurry of strikes. Riker rebounded after an Irish whip into the corner to hit a big clothesline. The fight spilled out of the ring, and Elias allowed himself to be counted out for a second time. My God. Oh, the non-finishes are painful. I really don't want to keep complaining here. I want to find something good here. AJ Styles and Drew McIntyre. Where did this match come from? That's how you know they're just grasping at straws. When they don't even tell you why it happened. Drew can't tell you why it happened. Nobody can explain how it happened or why it's happening. A match of that caliber, they just go, yeah, just accept it. What? I mean, are we just supposed to look at it and go, oh, they're going to put on a great match? I don't want that. I want them for us to care about who wins and loses. That's the whole point of this. I mean, it would be as bad as Charlotte's promo going into her match this week, where she was backstage and she said that her and Rhea are going to tear it down at Hell in a Cell. We're going to have a great match. What? Whoa. No. I don't need to hear that from the competitors that are supposed to be telling me that they're going to try to win the match. If it's a great match as a byproduct of the match you have with her, great. But you shouldn't be talking to me as if that's your goal to have a great match. That's an exposure of the business at the worst level. I mean, you heard this too throughout. Like, I remember Sasha Banks and Sasha and Charlotte, I believe, when they had their Hell in a Cell match. Sasha would not stop talking about making history. We're going to make history. How about you tell me you want to win the freaking match? How about you tell me why I'm supposed to care about your character winning the match? We will know it's history per the announcers who can do it on the back end. I don't need to be told up front. I don't need to hear. I mean, this goes as a general rule of thumb for everyone in WWE. Man, woman, doesn't matter. I don't care what story you're in, how big of a star you are. This is a general rule of thumb that no exceptions can be made for. None. I don't want to hear from anyone in their promos ever that they're going to tear the house down, they're going to steal the show, i.e. Dolph Ziggler, or how great of a match that they're going to have with so-and-so. No, because now you're telling me that you're worried about not winning, but rather being entertaining and putting on a good match for the fans. That makes no sense and is seriously at the highest level the worst thing you can do to pro wrestling. Seriously. God. They take really a byproduct of what matches are and could be and make it the focal point. But I digress. But anyway, AJ Styles and Drew McIntyre happened, and we all knew it was going to be really good, and it was really good. And again, we didn't get an explanation as to how this happened, which, whatever. I mean, it's better than Lily blowing things up to end the show. Certainly an improvement. Again, you can't go wrong with these two. One thing I will say before I break down this match, which really turned into a tag team match that we all saw coming, is can Drew McIntyre explain why he's giving us Scottish history lessons during his promos now, talking about former generals in the war and war stories from its history. I mean, I don't know if I like it or hate it, but I'm erring on the side of kind of what, dude? Why am I supposed to care? And this week he even said there's no relation to this Hell in a Cell match of the story I just told you. I'm like, well, then what's the point? A character development? How is this character development? Were you in the war, or are you just telling us stories like a child? Is this bedtime? Am I sitting there and Drew is just reading me a book? Because that's what this feels like, because it has no relation to the match that's happening on Sunday. I mean, he literally admitted that this week. He said that verbatim, that this has no effect and no connection to the match this Sunday with Bobby Lashley. I'm like, well, what is this? Are you just trying to do something different? And I'm all for doing something different. I think Drew needs something different. But if you're going to do something different, make it freaking relevant, dude. Make it so it's connected to your character in a way. Other than, okay, you're a Scotsman. Okay, we've known that since day one. That's not new. Every country has history. Yes. Thank you. We know that. What about you, Drew? How does this relate to you? Was it your grandfather in the war? Was it your father in a war? Yeah. What do these have to do other than just seriously bedtime stories? That's what they are. I appreciate what they're doing. It's not connecting with me at all. He did this last week with Bobby Lashley too. I don't know. I will say it's probably for the best that this match is not taking place in front of fans. I think fans would turn on Drew in this match because I think people want to continue to see Bobby Lashley as champion, and they are done with Drew being in the picture. Just done with it. It's also ironic and kind of sad for Drew that he wins the championship in front of no one and is going to have his final championship match for a while in front of no one. And then just a few short weeks after that, they're back on the road in front of fans. I mean, Drew couldn't have timed this any worse by design if you tried to not have the ability to celebrate with fans, not have that moment, embraceful moment with fans, than to design this as the wrestling gods did. And some of you may say, like Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan, which, by the way, guys, go check out my 2.5-hour conversation with Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan, an avid listener of the show, great guy, and a great conversation that we had in our weekend review this past Sunday. It's being downloaded like crazy. It's one of our top downloaded shows in quite a while. So head on over there in the feed and check it out. It's also going to be available ad-free on the Apple Podcasts whenever the hell they get the thing set up. So anyway, Mr. Casual Wrestling Fan would say, and some also might say, that this is going to be Drew McIntyre's moment because they want him to have that moment in front of fans where he's coming out as champion. I completely would be on the other side of that. And the reason is people are tired of Drew as champion. So if he comes out with the championship, it's going to be like, oh, well, yeah, dude, you've been chasing this off and on for 18 months. It's not a big deal. And also, he's not winning it in front of fans. So if he does win it, which I don't think he does, there's just no argument to me. No argument that I think would get unanimous support among fans. Like if this happened even a year, 6-8 months ago, I think fans would be like, "Oh yeah, great! We need to celebrate with Drew. We want to tell him how we feel." And now fans have kind of gone the other way because they just keep going to the well with Drew McIntyre. It's not his fault. It's not. I mean, maybe he just has story time every single Monday night. It'll start to catch on. I don't know, but anyway, we got a 6-man tag. It devolved into with the Viking Raiders coming out after Lashley was about to get involved. What? Did I miss two connections here? Why is AJ Styles facing Drew McIntyre? And why are the Viking Raiders coming out to aid Drew McIntyre? Why? Again, they didn't bother to explain it, or I missed it, which I have been known to do. I don't know. So we ended up getting, again, a good match. No problem with this. Almost, and McIntyre's stare down was memorable. It was one of those like, okay, I want to see what happens here. This is going to be fun. And they brawled for a very brief, few seconds. Of course, it didn't happen, or it didn't evolve very long, which is fine. That's a matchup that you sell down the line and you build towards. So we got a quick taste of it. So what happened was almost took out Eric and Ivar by throwing them over the barricade, leaving McIntyre to really basically fend for himself. And despite that disadvantage, we got AJ Styles trying to tag Omos. I don't know, take your pick on the pronunciation. And tagging the next available body part, as Corey Graves said, and that was Bobby Lashley, who immediately got the Claymore, and McIntyre gets the victory. So this also, I think, adds to the argument against McIntyre winning is the typically, I'd say 3 out of 4 times, the person that gets the advantage on the show before the pay-per-view ends up losing at the pay-per-view. So this just kind of adds on to the evidence that McIntyre is probably not winning at Hell in a Cell. So, but I'm looking forward to the match. I think they're going to have just a killer. I could see actually color in this match. Blood. I could. Do I think they'll do it? No, but I think it's warranted given how long they've been feuding now. So, this was a good, solid way to end the show. I have no complaint. I really don't have any complaints. The things I'm nitpicking, I guess, are just that, nitpicking. Because overall, this sent the message, see, they got me saying it, that Drew is going to do whatever it takes to win the championship. But Bobby is just as confident. And I think at times we need to be reminded about how dominant Bobby Lashley is, other than just walking around with the bought and paid for women on the Lashley train, or as McIntyre called him, Trashly. I'm surprised no one ever thought of that. But anyway, again, this match didn't make a ton of sense for all these competitors to be involved with one another, other than, okay, Eric and Ivar won the right to face the tag team champions at some point. But at some point, right? Like, the fact they interjected themselves now is a little weird, but maybe that's the connection, is they won the Battle Royal last week, the Tag Team Battle Royal, which puts them in the number 1 contender spot for the Raw Tag Team titles. I would guess that's the connection. So fine. I guess that's I'll buy it. It's solid enough for me. All right. Let's continue on here. Not a ton more to discuss, but of course, RK Bro versus the New Day. You knew what you were going to get with this match. Just excellent in-ring action. The chemistry with Riddle and Orton is slowly building. I also like how they're taking it slow, where Orton isn't just all of a sudden doing his pose in conjunction with Matt Riddle's pose, because you notice after his victory this week, just like a couple of weeks ago, he stood there as if he was going to do the pose he does with his arms out when Riddle was doing his, and he stopped short of it. And I like this. It seems like they're playing the long game. I'm all for it. And I could see this team breaking down maybe at SummerSlam if they got nothing else for Riddle and Orton. Anything bigger, that is. So this is just good stuff. And it's one of the highlights, consistent highlights of Raw every single week, even during those weeks that are just really tough to watch. So this was, again, really good match, good chemistry from everyone involved. And of course, it ends with one of the most beloved finishes of all time, the RKO. Had Xavier Woods take it, and Randy Orton gets the victory. We have Riddle, going crazy and trying to hold up Randy's arm, and Orton kind of shoves him off and starting to slowly warm up to him. That's what I love about this. Again, it's not rushed. It makes sense for the Orton character. This is good. This is just a good, solid program that is easy to understand, and two guys that have on-screen chemistry that you can't manufacture. So it's good, really good stuff. And I would like to see these four men square off again. I think that, of course, Xavier and Kofi are both excellent in the ring. You put them with two professionals like Orton and Riddle, and it's going to be a great day at the office. It's just, they're so good together. So I really enjoyed this. And we also got MVP once again trying to talk Kofi into the dark side. We got Kofi into, at least trying to bring him into the dark side, talking about how, you have been joking around, kind of the same thing as last week, not living up to your full potential. And I love how he said, "Oh, good luck with your match at Hell in a Cell this Sunday." oh, wait, you don't have one. It's great stuff. I don't think anybody can really disagree with MVP here. Is MVP really the bad guy? Or is he just spitting truth that Kofi doesn't want to hear? I think it's the latter. And Kofi continues to defend himself by saying he's here for his family and his friends. Well, if you're here for your family and friends and you're telling me that they're the reason for your success, why wouldn't you want to be as successful as you can for your family? And that would mean singles, my friend. Singles. And MVP pointed out to Kofi, you lost this match because of Xavier. You didn't lose it. Xavier did. If you're on your own, you got no one else to blame but yourself. MVP, I'm sorry. I know they're trying to make him a heel. I don't hate MVP. I don't have any heat for him. There's no heat for me that makes me want to see somebody level MVP. It doesn't exist for him. He spits truth. He does what he says. And he's good on the mic. Like, I don't know why we're supposed to dislike MVP. All right. Well, there's some breaking news. And guys, if you don't want NXT spoilers, right now is your warning. NXT spoiler coming up. Big NXT spoiler coming up in 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, you've been warned. Samoa Joe has returned to NXT. And William Regal offered him the GM spot, to which he said absolutely not. Interesting. This is very interesting to me. Does that mean he's going to be in ring? Maybe he got cleared. But if he turned down the GM role from William Regal, where does that leave him? Only one option. We're not putting him back on the announce team. Please don't. I don't need to hear him one more Monday night say, "Give us a kiss." I don't need that from Joe anymore. I need, if possible, if medically cleared, the Samoa Joe when he first debuted in WWE, as I believe Shane McMahon's heavy, and he took out Seth Rollins and broke his leg or something like that. Remember? By accident. And the Samoa Joe that went toe to toe with Brock Lesnar. That's the Samoa Joe I want. That's the Samoa Joe we need. So, all right. Well, hopefully I didn't spoil anything for anybody. If I did, I gave you a warning, although I didn't tell you how far to skip ahead. So, there's that. Nonetheless, guys, we are getting close to Hell in a Cell. As we know, SummerSlam is not far off. And what's going to happen after that, of course, is the draft. The draft is going to shake things up in a massive, massive, massive way. And I think you're going to see returning stars. As I said, you're going to see people come up from NXT likely. And things are going to get completely shuffled in about 4 weeks. In terms of crowds coming back. The real shuffle in terms of talent among rosters, of course, happens after SummerSlam. I think a week after SummerSlam. And I'm really looking forward to that. As many of you are too. So guys, hang in there a little bit longer with WWE. I mean, I'm not getting paid to say that by any means at all. I'm just saying if you're a fan of WWE and you're really just frustrated with the product, I would say just give it a little bit of time to see what they do when fans come back. Because I believe massive stars are on their way back when fans are there. I really, really believe that. So, all right, let's see. I'm taking a look here at the Raw results. Making sure I didn't miss... I feel like I'm missing something here. Oh, Jeff Hardy. Good gosh. Jeff Hardy versus Morrison and Cedric. So Hardy ends up winning with a Swanton Bomb and Twist of Fate in a match that was okay. You think I actually would have expected a much better match, given the star power in this contest. But I don't think they had enough time to really make things good. I don't. Oh, gosh. Evolution, folks. I almost forgot. I'm sure some of you were screaming, don't forget. Well, luckily for you, I didn't. Eva Marie debuts. Or does she? You know, I had hope. I really, really had hope that based on the vignettes, minus the first one that was all just basically sexualized, that they were going to make Eva Marie about competitiveness. And it seemed like they were going to position her as a babyface. It seemed as if they were going to make her about motivation and doing what's right and just make her kind of the generic, morally stable, Eva Marie character. And then I was like, okay, cool. They bring Naomi out, which we haven't seen her in, a couple of eons. And she comes out with no fanfare, by the way. They didn't even really acknowledge much about Naomi other than she looks good. It's like, okay. And she was there to take the pinfall. Unfortunately, it was not from Eva Marie, but rather from this, I guess, okay, here's her name. Piper Niven or Niven. I don't know. So Piper, I'll just call her. I know I got that right. Who is a very large woman comparative to, of course, the rest of the roster. So I know some people are like, oh, you're body shaming. No, but like, come on. I mean, she is clearly a much bigger woman, no doubt. And it is what it is. But she ends up taking out Naomi very quickly and easily. And then Eva Marie was announced as the winner. So they're really doing this again, are they? This, if you didn't remember, is not the first time they've done this with Eva Marie's character. The first time around, a number of years ago, they did the everything red, all red Eva Marie. And she would come out, and something inevitably would happen where on her way to the ring, she would feign an injury, twisting an ankle, or something was in her eye, that kind of stuff. And she never actually had a match, and then she just got released. I believe that was the case. Something happened where she got injured and was gone. I don't know. And they're really doing this same thing now, but now somebody else is doing the dirty work for her, and she takes credit for the victory. I mean, so they're doing the same exact storyline, just a different method in which she doesn't have to compete. It's really the same thing. This is bad. This is real bad. You know why? And again, it's been 1 week. It's been 1 week. Why are they playing games? Why are they playing games with Eva Marie? I don't understand. Like, is she that bad in the ring? Are they that scared to put her in the ring on live television? Because it looks like that to me. It looks like they just are fearful of what she'll look like in the ring. If they weren't, they'd throw her in the ring because WWE values great matches. This is not good. This is not good. I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking here. And again, they booked her seemingly as a babyface. She's in great shape. We know that. Okay, we all know how good looking she is. I don't care about that. I want you to tell me what you can do in the ring. Show me what you can do in the ring. What are you here for? What's your mission statement? What are you about? Why should I care if you win or lose? None of that. Just someone else doing her dirty work. She takes the credit. And that's it. And by the way, how did this match actually happen? Who signed off on this? Why did the referee go along with this? If this was supposed to be an actually competitive match or a true competition, you can't just replace somebody with somebody else without actually, getting official approval from it or from management or something. And they got nothing. It was no explanation. The announcers didn't even know who she was. I guess it's Piper Niven or Niven, probably Niven, I think. But yeah, this is just not good for the women's division. You want women to actually come in and compete, right? I don't know. Eva Marie so far has been a regression. She embodies the regression of the women's division so far. She's an embodiment of regression. Great looking woman in great shape. But that's where it stops. And that's where the Divas eras stopped. That's where the WWF Attitude Era stopped. Was just how good do they look? It's really unfortunate. So this Eva Marie garbage, and it was complete garbage this week, continued to just paint the women's division as, or discredit them a little bit. And sexualized them a little. I mean, she wasn't overtly sexual. You know, she wasn't coming out doing the Nikki Bella stripper dance or doing, you know, what Carmella does now on a weekly basis, doing her stripper silhouette montage before she goes to the ring and then talking about how beautiful she is. Look at my looks. Aren't I so beautiful? Oh my gosh, just look at my external qualities. It's such a regression of the women's division. I'm sorry. It's bad. And Eva Marie is she's contributing to it. She's not the ringleader. She's not the kingpin. But whoever is behind these types of maneuvers in the women's division should be just, I mean, get lashings. I mean, it's bad. So, all right, I think I covered everything now. So, I hope I didn't spoil NXT for you. If I did, I gave you a warning. I just didn't tell you how far to skip ahead because I didn't know how long I was going to talk. So, it's kind of hard to do that, right? So, guys, thank you as always for listening to the show. I will be back tomorrow with your mailbag on the free feed. And, of course, the whole Wrestling Nostalgia show is still going to be exclusive to Patreon. Wrestling Nostalgia is coming to you via Patreon tomorrow night. And then Thursday is the NXT, most likely. Friday is Rivalries. And then Saturday is AEW. It's also going, your AEW review from Mimi, but it's also going to be the Hell in a Cell preview and prediction show. Ashley is coming back Saturday night to discuss Hell in a Cell. Sunday, of course, is with YouTube's The Botch Guy. Great as always. Great dude. Follow him on YouTube, guys. That's an order. You must do that. You really are. You will be missing out if you don't follow him on YouTube. Just, you talk about a guy that bleeds charisma. Such a great guy. Follow The Botch Guy on YouTube. And he'll be joining me Sunday night, as always, following the pay-per-view for an immediate review of the show right here. So, all right, everybody. Thank you. As always, follow us on Twitter at wrestling_audio or on Instagram at WWE_podcast. And don't forget, hit us up on Apple. Give us a 5-star rating and review if you can. Thank you, everybody. As always, I'll talk to you next time.
My name is Mike De Niro, and I am 1/3 of the New York City rap group, the Lords of Gotham. I am also the host of the Wrestling DeLorean podcast. The Wrestling DeLorean podcast is your one-stop shop for all the news and notes around the wrestling world. We talk about everything from WWE to AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, MLW, Ring of Honor, and beyond. But wait, there's more. We also go back in time and discuss all the events and moments that made us all fans. New episodes of the Wrestling DeLorean podcast drop Monday through Friday. Yes, 5 episodes a week, and you can find us wherever you enjoy your favorite podcasts. So what are you waiting for? Hop into Wrestling DeLorean, strap in your seatbelt, become a passenger of the Wrestling DeLorean podcast, and enjoy the ride, because it is going to be one hell of a good time.